welcome again to Tech Talks, the People and Planet podcast, where we explore the ways that technology can be used for good, from healthcare to education, social justice to sustainability. We've got you covered. I'm Tony Marsh, and our guest today is Gautam from Resonanz, a visionary and change maker in the realm of sustainable technology. Resonanz is dedicated to creating a harmonious balance between technology, humanity, and the environment. Gautam and his team at Resonanz have built a highly efficient energy trading infrastructure that is really revolutionizing the way we consume and distribute energy. In today's episode, we'll be delving into the fascinating work of Resonanz and exploring their cutting-edge projects that leverage technology to transform the energy sector. Gautam's going to shed light on their breakthrough innovations in energy trading and their collaborative approach and the remarkable impact they're having on the world of sustainable energy. So join us as we deep dive into a realm of sustainable technology and discover how Resonanz is spearheading the movement towards a greener and more efficient energy future. So Gautam, welcome to the show. I'm really keen to dive in, but before we do that, I wondered if you could maybe give us a little bit of an intro on yourself and what it is you're doing over there at the moment.
Thanks, Tony. Before we get started, thanks once again for having me on this podcast. I'm really excited to be here. So my name is Gautam Kotian. By training, I'm a computer science engineer. I studied information technology in university, and I have been working in the field of software development for close to 20 years now, mainly related to backend software development. Over that time, I have worn different hats, the most recent being that of a co-founder here at Resonanz. We're a small startup company based in Berlin. And like you said, we're focusing on building an assetless energy trading platform.
Cool. No, sounds good. So I guess for those who may not know what it means to be an assetless energy trading company, could you tell us a little bit about what that means and also about the journey of Resonanz towards becoming an assetless energy trading platform and some of the challenges you've faced along the way?
Right. So an assetless energy trading platform is a platform by which we can trade energy, but since we don't produce energy and neither do we consume energy, this is what makes us assetless. So we are just in the business of buying and selling electricity while not actually producing or consuming it. With regard to the journey of our company, about 4 years ago, I was working in the Berlin branch of a fairly large company, which is a big name in the online advertising space. And I was leading one of the backend teams there called the bidding team. And our job was to process something called bid requests to figure out whether to place an order for the opportunity to show an ad on a website, and if so, for how much. So dealing with millions of bid requests coming in every second and making trading decisions in a matter of milliseconds was, honestly speaking, quite intellectually challenging work. But at the end of the day, what was it that I was doing? I was getting people to click on more ads online. From a big picture point of view, it wasn't really fulfilling work.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, my colleague Alex, who was also battling with similar feelings, decided to set up a company focused on the energy industry, as he felt it was, technologically speaking, way behind the e-commerce industry that we were in. So together with another colleague of ours, David, we decided to found Resonanz to see how we could help. The first step, of course, was to figure out where help was needed. We were, after all, newcomers in the industry and still had a lot to learn. So we decided to simply work on projects for other large companies in this sector in an attempt to see what sort of problems they faced. After more than a year of doing this, we figured out a few things. Number one was that our initial hunch that the technology had a lot of catching up to do was spot on. Number two, trading of energy was a core business function in almost all the companies that we were working with. And it was done almost exclusively by human traders. Uh, and this was done in uh, using Excel spreadsheets and hastily cobbled together scripts. Number three, everyone spoke of using data science to trade better, but no one seemed to be actually doing anything meaningful in this area. And since we had a lot of experience with trading platforms, we thought this would be where we would be most likely to make an impact, and therefore decided to build our assetless power trading platform. For this, we partnered up with a few other companies, but our lack of experience in the in this business soon became painfully apparent. Our closest partner at that time was Convex Energy, whose offices were conveniently located just one floor above us. The team at Convex saw what it is that we brought to the table and also saw how well the two companies complemented each other, and therefore decided to convert that partnership into a single company. This means that as of only a few weeks ago, Resonanz has been completely acquired by Convex Energy.
Nice.
The plan going forward is to integrate our systems so that we can leverage everything that we've built over the past few years uh, in order to achieve better trading performance in all markets that Convex operates in.
That sounds great. Sounds great. And yeah, as you say, obviously, kind of sort of making the right moves there if they've noticed what you're doing, and it's great that obviously those two kind of sort of platforms complement each other so well. So you talked a
Yeah.
lot around data science there.
Mhm.
So how do you envisage the role of data science in the future of energy trading? And I guess how do you see Resonanz contributing to that vision?
Mhm, mhm. Um, in my opinion, data science will play a vital role in the future of energy trading, just as it does in other sorts of trading today, like trading stocks or trading foreign exchange. After all, trading is mostly about predicting the future. And if you want to do it in a scientific manner by ascribing probabilities to what's going to happen, then you absolutely need data science. We're sitting on mountains of data of what happened in the past, but it is humanly impossible to analyze all that data and make informed guesses of what caused something to happen. And given similar situations, what's the likelihood of the same thing happening again? In the stock trading world, data science is already quite mature. Whereas when it comes to power trading, using data science is mostly uncharted territory. At Convex, we have some of the best data scientists working to create machine learning models that will allow us to better predict what's going to happen in the market. One of the biggest problems we are facing right now, as I'm sure are all the other players in this domain, is the extremely high volatility of energy prices. For several decades in the past, energy prices behaved in more or less predictable ways. But the past few years have seen crazy price variations from one day to the next. What this means is that we've had to throw away models that we painstakingly developed and trained on old data because they make no sense at all anymore. How long this volatile situation will last is anybody's guess. So, for the time being, our plan is to put our heads down and think of creative ways to crack this nut. So, in the short term, I think data science can help human traders make better trading decisions. But in the long term, it's going to be independent algorithms battling each other out.
Understood. Yeah, no, I can see that. So, I guess I know when we've kind of sort of discussed in the past, you kind of sort of mentioned that your company Resonanz has partnered with various different sort of universities. How is that collaboration? How is that kind of sort of contributing to the development of talent in the energy trading industry?
Yeah, right. Convex is a partner in the EUREF Talent Campus in two major cities of Germany, which is Berlin and Düsseldorf. We provide very generous financial support to them, which helps them prepare the problem solvers of tomorrow. So we work together with the universities to identify what sort of daily problems the young and brilliant minds studying there will face when they are ready to enter the workforce. This directly impacts the curriculum of the master's programs in these universities. Besides this, we host student events and organize knowledge sharing sessions, as well as offer internships. We have working students and interns in all our teams, from trading to middle office to HR to software development. We treat all of them as trusted members of the team, and they have access to all the materials and knowledge and training that will help them excel in their respective areas. In the in the last year, we've also started something called the graduate student program, wherein promising working students are groomed to later become full-time employees. In fact, as we speak, we're in the process of setting things up for one of our participants in this program to soon join us as a junior software developer.
No, that's great. It's great that you're able to kind of sort of give people that opportunity as well to get into such an exciting space. So I guess I know when we've kind of sort of discussed previously, you kind of sort of mentioned around people coming in that kind of sort of have a combination of skills across both the development side and the trading side. So how are you at Resonanz? How are you kind of working to bridge the gap between developers and traders in the company, and why is that important to kind of sort of have an insight into both areas?
Right. So let me actually answer the second part of your question first, which is
sure.
why is it important to have the two skill sets combined? And I think the most basic advantage is, of course, to have better understanding of each other's roles, which would therefore enable better anticipation of each other's needs. A developer, for example, who understands the business domain and understands what are the key metrics that a trader looks at in order to make trading decisions, is naturally in a better position to sift through all the data and retrieve the data of interest. They can also present that data in a form that is most valuable to the traders, sometimes even better than a trader could themselves imagine. Conversely, a trader who understands the process of software development is in a much better position to make refined requests to the development team and have a sense of what is and what is not feasible to do in a reasonable amount of time. Coming back to the first part of the question, which is what we are doing to bridge this gap, here I would say that it is somewhat easier to train a professional trader in software development than the other way around. The simple reason for this is the availability of training materials. You'll find loads of videos online about how to write good software, but not so many about how to become a power trader.
Yeah.
Normally, one needs to study hard and pass various certifications and obtain licenses before you're allowed to even place your first trade. This is done primarily to make sure that bad actors don't place fraudulent transactions, thereby compromising the reliability of the electric grid. Because having uninterrupted power supply has become like a matter of life and death in today's world. So the grid is rightly treated as part of vital, critical infrastructure. In fact, there are sensitive locations in the grid, which is, if compromised, could result in blackouts. And they are some of the most heavily guarded locations on the planet. Sorry, I digress there a little bit.
No.
Getting back to the question of trying to bridge the gap between traders and developers, our immediate focus within the company is to try and promote better software development practices among our traders. For this, we organize regular training sessions given either by members of our internal software development teams or by inviting external domain experts as guest speakers. And I would say at this point, I think I can safely say that some of our power traders could give many software developers a run for their money.
Cool. No, it's great to hear. I mean, it's not, I guess, a traditional kind of sort of combination that you might see. So it's really interesting that you're, doing a lot of work behind the scenes to, as we say, sort of bridge that gap and bring those two sort of sectors, I guess, sort of closer together. So it's yeah, really quite interesting. So as the industry transitions towards renewable energy sources, what do you see as the biggest challenges facing the energy trading platforms, and how are you kind of sort of working to sort of address those challenges?
Before I can answer that question, I think it would be valuable to talk about some of the peculiarities of our industry. So in order to ensure that the electricity grid remains stable, it is very important to ensure that the grid frequency always stays at 50 hertz or somewhere very close to it. In order to do that, we need to try and estimate exactly how much electricity will be needed on any given day, and then generate exactly that much power. But that is, of course, easier said than done. On the electricity consumption side, we can come pretty close to a good estimate because the amount of electricity needed to keep our systems running doesn't vary wildly from one day to the next. But it is on the supply side that things become difficult. In the past, before we had renewable energy sources, even supply could be fairly well estimated because let's say you're generating electricity by burning coal, right? You burn a given amount of coal, and you'll always get more or less the same amount of electricity each time. But with renewable energy sources, we start becoming much more dependent on the weather. A solar panel, for example, will produce much more electricity on sunny days than on cloudy days. Similarly, on windy days, you'll get much more electricity from a windmill than when there is hardly any breeze. So one might be tempted to ask, then why don't you just look at the weather forecast and estimate based on that? Which would be a good question if only weather forecasts were so reliable.
Yeah.
But we shouldn't be too quick to blame the meteorologists for not doing a good job, because predicting the weather is a notoriously hard problem. It is a very complicated process which involves a great number of variables and mathematical models and running complex computations on all that data. And to make it even worse, you get any one of these variables wrong by even a little bit, it can have a massive effect on the final result. And when I say a little bit, I really mean extremely minuscule changes far to the right of the decimal point. For example, say instead of using 94.342678, you used 94.342679 for some variable, right? And you'll get completely different results. Yeah, but that doesn't mean that we aren't getting better. Over time, we have become really good both at collecting data as well as running computations on that data, which is why weather forecasts today are way better than those of, say, 20 years ago.
Mhm.
But circling back to your original question, one of the biggest challenges we face is trying to accurately predict the weather, because that directly influences how much electricity will be produced, which in turn directly impacts what the cost of the electricity will be on any given day. And to help us out in this challenge, we've hired some very highly skilled meteorologists. So they help us not only in making good predictions, but also to react quickly when new data comes in and our old predictions need to be discarded.
Cool. No, that's really interesting. So, I guess just one kind of sort of final question from me then. How does Resonanz approach risk management in energy trading? Because I assume that must be quite a big thing in your sector, and how do you ensure that you're making responsible and certainly sustainable decisions?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Risk management is a super important topic for any trading company, because if you don't manage your risk properly, then you could bankrupt the entire company and consequently put yourself and your beloved colleagues out of a job before you go home for the day.
Yeah.
So, trading companies spend a great deal of effort to try and ensure that they're never risking even 1 cent more than they can really afford to.
Hmm.
Uh, One key component of this is something called the ETRM system. ETRM stands for Energy Trade and Risk Management, which is a software platform that manages and oversees your entire system. It tracks all orders that are placed from your account, all trades that happen, how much cash is currently at risk, what positions you have open, whether you have met all regulatory and reporting requirements, and a bunch of other things. Most companies out there buy off the shelf ETRM products from other software vendors. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm sure the off the shelf ETRM solutions are well tested, mature products. And I'm also a huge proponent of the buy rather than build approach. But in our case, since the ETRM system is such a core part of the business and plays such a central role in our day to day operations, we decided that we wouldn't completely outsource its development. What we did instead was that we implemented the core of the software in house, but developed it in as modular a way as possible, which is instead of building a huge monolith, we built it in the form of microservices which communicate with each other using REST APIs.
Mm.
Whenever we need to add any new feature to it, we always follow an API first approach. This significantly increases the upfront development cost, uh, but allows for more flexibility. We can choose to implement parts of the system either ourselves, where it makes sense, or buy from third party providers if it is serving some adjacent business function.
Sure.
And in order to ensure that we are running our systems responsibly and sustainably, we operate on the cloud as far as possible. However, being a trading company, we are subject to some strict financial and reporting regulatory requirements, which places some restrictions on where our software is allowed to run.
Mhm.
For systems that must run on prem, we work closely with a Berlin based cloud provider, because in an ever changing world, we believe it is important to have strong and reliable partners. Uh, and we value long-lasting, strong relationships with our partners. It is well known that running systems on the cloud drastically reduces CO2 emissions by as much as 80%, if I'm not mistaken, as
Wow.
cloud providers can run their data centers way more efficiently than we ever could. At least in Germany, many cloud providers have quite stringent targets to become net zero emission centers by 2040. And by choosing to work with these providers, we are doing our bit to drive the adoption of clean energy.
Cool. No, that's really great to hear. Well, look, as I say, I think that's pretty much kind of all we've got time for today. So that's all for today's episode of Tech Talks, the People and Planet podcast. We really hope you enjoyed this enlightening conversation with Gautam from Resonanz. We explored the transformative power of sustainable technology, from their innovative solutions in energy trading to their collaborative efforts in shaping a greener future. So we've gained some really valuable insights. So a special thank you to Gautam for sharing his experience and shedding light on the remarkable work that they're doing at the moment. So if you found this episode inspiring, please be sure to subscribe to our podcast, leave a review. Your feedback really means a lot. So that's all for today. Please do join us next time as we continue our journey, delving into the fascinating intersections of technology and its potential for positive impact. Until then, stay curious, keep innovating. Thanks again, Gautam. It's been a real pleasure.
Thanks a lot, Tony. Thanks for having me.
Cheers.